This program is powered by thevirtual.show, making your offline events virtual. Ladies and gentlemen, the host of WEBIT Virtual, Dr. Plamen Russev.
And hello to another of my favorite editions of WEBIT Virtual, the Founders Games Demo Investors Day. That's the real thing why we do everything, and that's the real thing why WEBIT has been existing for the past 12 years, supporting and growing the entrepreneurial ecosystem all around the world. And we are proud of doing what we are doing. We're proud of supporting the entrepreneurs from all around the world for the past 12 years, never asking them to buy tickets and never asking them to pay for being introduced to investors and to global enterprise leaders, as long as they pass our tough selection process. And the numbers are clear. We've been selecting companies that survived of over 67% for the past 12 years. That's a number. If we were an acceleration program, that would have been the most successful acceleration program in the world, but we are not. And we're working to support the ecosystem, and we are not taking equity, and we're only here to be of help. You will see 3 of the best startups we have selected as part of this special week, special for me, special for many of the people who you will see during the next editions this week, the Health Innovation Week of WEBIT Virtual. Why special? Well, you know the answer better than me. All the challenges we are facing, all the current lockdowns, most probably would be in a position to be solved in the next few years because of health innovation, because of health security improvements, and because of these amazing people you shall see today and you are seeing in the future as part of WEBIT Virtual. That's why so close. That's why I believe that today you will hear and you will be inspired. And without further ado, I would like to go to the next step of this program, announcing first the panel of the great investors we've invited today, and of course, the startups themselves. Before that though, I would like to say special thank you to our partner of this particular edition. Look, who is it?
EIT Digital Challenge. Scale up your digital deep tech business. Win international growth prizes totaling 350,000 euros. Apply now.
We have our first guest here. It's an old acquaintance of mine. It's someone who has been helping us when we, for the first time, started expanding with WEBIT globally. After 3 successful editions back in 2008, 2011, oh my gosh, it's been so long time ago. We have been invited to Istanbul and we decided to make the next move there. And he is the leader of that ecosystem. I call him like this.
Cem Sertoğlu is an entrepreneur and venture capital investor focused on technology ventures in emerging Europe since 2006. He is currently a co-founder and managing partner at Early Bird Digital East Fund in Istanbul. Previously, Cem was the founder and CEO of Select Minds, now part of Oracle in New York.
Hello and welcome, Cem.
Hi, Plamen, how are you?
Hoş geldiniz.
Hoş bulduk.
I know a few more sentences as you write well, as you know well, but I'm not going to use them because unfortunately I couldn't manage to catch up with my Turkish. But Cem, Turkey is too small for you, and you're actually actively involved in a number of fantastic investments all around Eastern Europe. Is that correct?
That's right. You may remember we raised our first fund to focus on the Series A opportunity in Central and Eastern Europe, what we call emerging Europe, which for us includes Turkey, of course, back in 2014. And since then, we backed 15 companies from the region. We're really trying to partner with the most ambitious teams, trying to build global businesses coming out of the region, as well as those who might recognize an opportunity in their current home markets And we recently last year raised our successor fund, again, sort of focusing on the first proper institutional Series A rounds, 4 or 5 million lead check sizes for their to be the lead investor in their A rounds for globally aspiring ICT focused companies.
Unipat is a great example of opportunities that this region is providing. I think, if I'm not mistaken, their current valuation is about 5 billion, sorry.
7 billion. They raised at a 7 billion valuation last year, but you're right. I mean, this is a company we met back in 2015, 12 people working out of a small office in Bucharest. Next thing you know, they're 3,000 people, global leader in what's now becoming a very large segment of enterprise software, robotic process automation. So like you said, UiPath has been a great poster child for emerging Europe opportunity for us.
Fantastic. And my heart and soul, obviously, being born in this part of the world is here. And I'm a huge supporter of all these initiatives. We're trying to do our best also. And so we've seen some great results, establishing Sofia as a digital capital all around the digital media and further growing that. So I'm so grateful for putting your efforts, your knowledge and know-how and making all this possible. And I thank you for joining us, Cem.
Thank
Çok
you.
teşekkürler.
Bir şey değil.
And our next participant of the jury, and please look at him. Who is it?
Mackenzie Kosut runs the global startup advocate team at Amazon Web Services, where he mentors hundreds of startups every year. He provides feedback and technical guidance by tapping into his experience of over 10 years, helping to grow a number of unicorn startups.
Mackenzie, thank you so much for joining. How is it to be responsible for 15 billion under management?
You're talking about back in the Betterment days. It was exciting. I think being a leader in the robo-advisor space and kind of leading that industry. What inspired me the most was when I started traveling for Amazon and representing startups for AWS, coming across all these other fintech startups based in Germany and other parts of the world who were replicating the Betterment model. And so it's one thing to build a product and see it, take off here in the States, but then to see so many other people replicating that in their own territories and countries, that's when you've done something right. So yeah, I'm very, very proud of my work I've done there.
Ian, you should be. And I've mentioned your past because your current is so well known that we cannot surprise anyone. So I wanted to bring you a little bit back in the past and building that, how important your participation here. I would like to add more that you actually have a technical background and you started as a CTO. So you have, you've seen almost 360 degrees of building a successful company.
Yeah, I've had the fortune and good luck of selecting the right companies to build 3 into unicorns. So running engineering teams there, I've learned a lot from the early stages of getting off the ground to hyperscale and large scale in the long run. So I'm fortunate to bring that knowledge to AWS and share that at scale to a lot of the startups who we work with every day. And yeah, I'm excited to participate in this event today.
No, we must have done something very right, dear Mackenzie, to have the right and the pleasure to have people like you with us. So thank you so much. And I'm sure that the more the startups who are now already in our backstage listening to who are going to vet them, aware that they must have done also something very right, or they got very lucky. So you will tell me at the end of this show which of the two are the one in place. Thank you so much. Let's see the next investor as part of the investors panel of today's Founders Games Demo Investors Day.
Ilja Vladimirov is Director of Digital Investments at Evonik Venture Capital. Evonik is a global specialty chemicals company with businesses at the intersection of nutrition and health, both for humans and animals.
Ilja, welcome.
Thank you. Pleasure being here. Great. Thank you.
It's our pleasure. We have some issue in our connection, but it's only the communication connection, not the one that we're building now. And regardless if you have issue with your sound or not, which I hope we will fix. I mean, we have to deal with too many variables having this global production of a television broadcasting with full interaction with the audience. You still are going to be in a position to vet the startups because we have our platform connecting us. But now, hopefully, you will be heard by our audience. What you're doing is pretty much on the spot here, and you are investing globally in health startups. You're one of those that have very deep dive knowledge and know-how, and we count very much on your vets as member of this jury. Give us your overview of how the current situation is impacting your deal flow, how your current situation is giving you more strength among LPs by doing what you're doing.
Yeah, happy to. So Evonik is a global company. We have 22 very different business lines, and our interest ranges from medical grade 3D printing polymers to bio fabricated synthetic leather to printed tissues, 3D printed tissues. So we are in many markets, and depending on the market, the impact is radically different, right? So in some perspectives, we obviously see a strong increased interest and increased deal flow, increased quality of deal flow, and also a strong interest of investors, especially in health-related topics. And then on the other hand, where we are rather involved with materials that might go into the automotive industry, for example, their demand in us being second-tier suppliers is tough, and we expect a decrease in deal flow. And this also obviously has quite a difference across our portfolio. And I think as a company, we have been market leaders in several health-related markets, and we want to increase our commitment here. We are focusing increasingly on the US and Asian market, where we have done several investments last year, but we remain a German, Central Europe rooted company.
What is the average check that you are signing for entry investment?
Our check ranges between 500,000 and 5 million. So we are looking more into existing products and Series A to Series B stages, but this really depends on the strategic interest, where we often are a partner in seed stage and pilot scale.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Ilja, and thank you for joining the jury. Allow me to introduce the last member of the jury, and we start with the real games, the founders games and the startups who shall be pitching in front of you, making sure that they have your true and open and honest feedback, regardless of how painful or amazing it is. And at the same time, hopefully they have your investment, because all of them are looking for investment, and all of them are in a position to fit in your portfolios and the level of investments you're making. And now our last participant in the jury.
Reid Jackson has been working with startups for most of his life, both as a founder and an investor. Before OpenOcean, he worked for IDG Ventures USA in San Francisco, focusing on the enterprise software and video game industries. Prior to that, he was the co-founder and CEO of Negotiable Software.
Welcome, Reid. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me. Good to be here.
Another self-made investor, entrepreneur/investor, now being part of OpenOcean, actively involved with the European ecosystem, but obviously globally also. What brings you to our panel, besides, of course, our kind invitation? What are your expectations?
Well, actually, I'm really interested to see how it feels to be part of a panel like this remotely. It's not something that I've done before in this kind of format, so it should be really interesting to see how that is. But obviously, yeah, I guess the main reason is I'm keen to meet these amazing startups and find out more about them.
They are amazing, and yes, indeed, we started again doing things that no one else has been doing before. At WEBIT 12 years ago, we started matching enterprise and startups, and I was publicly announced completely crazy to match these founders. At that moment, 12 years ago, entrepreneur was with some questionable hygiene habits. Let's say it like this. 12 years ago, if you remember, it was crazy. But we did it, and we still do it. Now we would like to not to stay at home and doing nothing. Actually, instead of one event per year, now we have 3 events every week and sometimes 4 events every week, which is an amazing opportunity for our whole ecosystem to get together. And also adding more and more investors, like some of you who have never been to WEBIT, among the 1,000+ investors, but actually now being able to touch and to feel the power of WEBIT. Thank you all again for being with us. And I would suggest that we stop that heartbeat that our first participant is having and give her the floor. It's well known that investment, unfortunately, is very mainly manhood business. And we try to invite more and more female investors to join us. It's not very easy, but at least we have founders who are representing gender diversity. And even more, this particular founder, I just realized, has a Bulgarian name, and she's from a country where I come from, even though she doesn't live in Bulgaria anymore. She's from Switzerland. Her name is Evelina Georgieva, and her company is called Pryv or Pryv. I think it's Pryv.
Hello. You're right.
Hi, Evelina.
It can be said Pryv or Pryv, depending how you pronounce it. It comes from privacy. Thank you for inviting me. I'm very glad to be with you today. And I'm one of the co-founders of Pryv. We're a Swiss-based company which started in 2012.
Just one second. Thank you. No, you just a little bit you managed to hit the clock. So let me say the start now. You have 3 minutes to pitch your company starting now.
Great, thank you. So we're based in Switzerland. We started in 2012, and we developed a software for personal data and privacy management, which has been available under licensing agreements since 2015. It's mostly used by healthcare organizations. We like to say like a solid foundation on which they can build their own digital health products. What it allows them to do is to manage personal data throughout its life cycle, from the time it's collected, stored, and shared within and regards to the applicable requirements and the regulatory. Most of our customers are within the healthcare sector, being developers of mobile applications or medical devices, medical IoT, different solutions for telemonitoring and telehealth care, also insurances that are developing on the top of our middleware, different type of prevention solutions or risk modeling. And we also work in the pharma industry in the scope of remote clinical trials, which right now in regards to the COVID-19 are really scaling up. It's amazing. So they're allowing patients to be enrolled and to participate remotely thanks to the so-called digital biomarkers, again, being given different type of mobile apps and devices. And why I said mostly in the healthcare industry, we also have customers that are outside of healthcare. These are typically companies that are developing solutions that are fed by personal data and that are having a lot of pressure under different type of regulations specific to the market where they operate. So here is the thing. It's a lot of pressure on them. Once they start collecting personal data, first and foremost, they have to make sure that they have the consent of us as an individual. and it's quite difficult to make sure that they have the right to use this data properly and rightfully. There is very high risk of penalties and having different type of fines. And last but not least, it's very important to manage personal health data properly, so you don't play with your image and branding at any point. I'm not going to spend much time here because we're very limited in time, but just listed few of the things that this type of data management platform should answer, like tell me where it's my data, prove me that my consent was given, that it has been executed rightly, prove me how the data was processed, where physically it's it, and that it has been deleted, and my profile and myself have been forgotten. So there is two options for our customers, either build or buy. Very typical build versus buy situation. So instead of developing internally, we provide to use.
Sorry, time is up.
Solution. Wow, that was fast.
I know sometimes 3 minutes are eternity. Sometimes 3 minutes are never enough. We have 5 minutes for Q&A. Who would like to start first? Great job, Evelina.
Thank you.
Who from the jury would like to start with the questions?
Can you talk me through kind of how long it takes to acquire a new customer for this? Kind of what that timeline looks like for new user acquisition?
It started before 2017 with a very long life cycle of acquiring one customer. It can go up to more than 1 year, even 1.5 years, up to the time they set up internally the project and so on. This got very much decreased after the GDPR. We stopped being in a position of explaining why you should take care of personal data properly. And now, in the past 2 months, it went really faster after the COVID-19 started, unfortunately, for many aspects of life. But in regards to the usage of our software, we're glad to say that now we help digital health solutions reach to market only in few days or weeks. So once the project is there, we send our software, it's deployed, we teach their IT team how to use it, how to connect to the mobile application or the algorithms, the device, and they go live. So if you're asking me for today, it's a very short sales cycle. If you're asking me for before, it was the hell.
And just to follow up on that, so it only takes a few days to set up, to demo it, to say, look, I'm working down your environment. How long after that before a company says, okay, I'm committing to purchasing this to a contract? Like how long does it take them usually to pull the trigger to secure a deal for you?
It's a bit the other way around. So we start and we initiate the discussion based on their requirement. We demonstrate how exactly it works. And then we're entering the commercial agreement already. Then the software gets deployed on the infrastructure of their choice. Probably it's the right time just to show you something. It will help this slide. They choose the hosting infrastructure where we deploy the software, and then it's up and running. It's really a matter just of contractual agreement. And
so that timeline, what's that full timeline that you work with from the start to the final deployment? Just out of curiosity.
If I have to make an average, it will be 1 to 6 months.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ilja. Please go ahead.
Yeah, two big questions from my side. Technical understanding. If I'm your customer or the user of the software, then can I transfer the data from one doctor, let's say, to another from one? Or is it the entity that is actually paying for this middleware?
I'm not sure if I understood fully the question because it interrupted, but let me repeat it. So if you're one of our customer, can our software allow you to share from one doctor to another doctor through our middleware? Was that the question?
Yes, pretty much.
Yes. Okay, so the answer is yes. So it relies on a very granular consent mechanism that is here. So once your user, the patient, starts filling the data in, you're going to request what access right you apply to the different stakeholders. And for example, in this scenario, you can say send all this bunch of data to the general practitioner, but only a subset of this data for a secondary opinion or for a specific analysis by a specialist. So yes, you can do that, and even the other way around. If you want to request the patient to give more data, you can request it. Does it answer your question, or was it that the question that that you wanted to ask me?
We have only 1 minute left, so maybe one more question.
And who's paying?
Who is paying?
Who's paying for that?
It's the company. So here it's a business organization. It's a healthcare institution that makes their own product, and we provide this layer, a middleware, a foundation. So it's piece of their own product and services. They buy a license. It's the business organization that buys license, and they can provide a service to patients, doctors, and so on.
Just very quickly, if I can, quick follow-up, if possible. So just on a strategic point, why even offer a non-healthcare use case? What are the sort of non-healthcare use cases that you're going after, and why do that at all? I mean, it seems like you have quite a specialized product, and obviously there's a lot of products out there for non-healthcare data privacy management. A lot of them have raised a lot of money. Why not just sort of stick on the healthcare route and double down?
We decided to focus on the healthcare industry because it's pretty heavy in terms of requirements, not only on the personal data, but industry specific, different medical requirements for how to handle the data. So we decided to stay in this area, as we're pretty strong in this regards, building something called like legal interoperability, not only technical, but legal interoperability. In the cases that are outside of the healthcare industry, these are typically companies that are providing privacy services, and they embed our middleware within their privacy offering. There are many GDPR type of companies out there that can also have it embedded in their offering.
That was a very important question, obviously. We also have questions from the audience. The audience is very active, and other investors. I have a question if it's applicable to every EU country, legislation agnostic. Anyway, that's well done. Thank you so much. We're a little bit beyond the time, and now I have to do the same exception for all the companies. So, dear wonderful investors, please stay fit to the time. My only request now is to have you filling up the VETs for this first startup that pitched, so we can have the numbers and work on them. As all of you know, we're vetting 5 major and important factors: scalability, how unique is the idea, how good is the business development, how good is the marketing, and team capacity. Because all these startups that we are seeing today are late stage startups. They're growth companies with above 3 million of investment already in each and every one of them, up to 6 million in this particular cohort. Obviously, we don't question the team capacity, but still you should work on that also, and please make sure you have your VETs on that. Now, I would like to introduce the next startup who is going to be here with us on the stage. And without further ado, just let me switch through the screens. So we have Medyria. Medyria is based in Switzerland, Series A company with 6 million investment. It's a Swiss medtech startup that engineers technologies for cardiovascular catheter navigation and sending. And the rest we will hear from the founder, Mauro Sette. Mauro, hello.
Yes, hello, good afternoon, everybody. This is Mauro, and I'm here presenting Medyria for you today. So,
start, 3 minutes.
Yeah, thank you. So Medyria has a unique technology that is a sensor to measure the blood flow velocity. And we would like to use this blood flow velocity sensing within endovascular and cardiovascular procedure. This is Medyria, this is the team. So brilliant engineers that brought a product to the market. You see here in the back, the product is a system with a monitor connected to our sensor and to our sensing catheter that you could see here, and this is what this team made so far. We are also working on a second generation of the product that is a product for the cardiovascular application. So what is the problem here? You have 20 million people dealing with angina pectoris, which is chest pain. Out of these 20 million, 4 million will get sooner or later an angiography. And only 50% of this problem will be found with a coronary problem that can be treated with a stent. And only 30% of the initial will get a resolved angina. So they can go home out of the hospital having their problem solved. The other 70%, they remain with the so-called disease that is called non-obstructive coronary artery disease. This problem, the diagnosis of this other problem is very complicated. It requires several iterations within the hospital, which decrease the quality of life of the patient and increase the cost of the healthcare system. So what we have understood is that there is a need for a new device, which is by measuring the blood flow velocity within the coronaries is able to make an accurate diagnosis of this disease. This device is a guide wire equipped with a pressure sensor and with a blood flow velocity sensor that can do diagnosis of both coronary artery disease problem and non-coronary artery disease problem. You have several companies, big multinational strategics already active in the field. Most of them, they do a pressure measurement, calculating an index that is called FFR, that quantifies the coronary artery problem. But none of them, or very, very few of them, they have a blood flow velocity measurement. And this is the innovation. This is what we would like to bring to the market, this new type of diagnosis. And this is Medyria below there. The market is huge. So you have 4 million people, 4 million angiography that can be tackled. On average, we can sell a catheter to each angiography for 500 Swiss francs or dollar. So this gives a market that is more than $2 billion market. So it's a huge market. And in order to do that, we are looking for $5 million US in order to develop the second generation catheter and bring it to a preclinical phase. And that's it. I thank you all.
We needed to wait for the bump. Today they have played with bumps in my office in the studio. Obviously, they're in a peaceful mood. Thank you very much for this presentation, dear Mauro. I'm pretty much respected by what you have achieved so far, and I would like to hear our jury members and their questions. Asking to start now.
What kind of regulatory approval do you need for this, Mauro?
So is approval for medical device, which is the CE marking or the FDA approval in the US. So for this particular product, we would like to target first the FDA clearance because the US market is much bigger and because the European market is suffering from the change of regulation from NDD to NDR. So it's better to leave the European market alone for the next 2 years, wait that this regulatory issue is solved, and then come back to Europe later. So we are going to tackle first the US.
Understood.
Other questions? Mackenzie.
How does your product differ from like duplex ultrasounds, which I think is also used in this type of procedure?
Yeah.
Can you talk through the differences?
So Doppler ultrasound is a technology owned by Philips Volcano at the moment. They are the other supplier on the market. Is not used. As a matter of fact, Philips is considering to withdraw this guide wire from the market because using Doppler into the vessel is not a good idea. And they have they never managed to go through the market because it's very unpractical to make this measurement, leading to inaccuracy of the measurement. Okay, so we propose a device. We want to develop a device that is easy to use, okay, that each and every surgeon is able to make an accurate measurement, and this will be the differentiator with the Doppler ultrasound. And we believe that this ease of use will be the trigger that will drive the penetration into the market.
Questions?
Mauro,
Yeah, please.
Yeah, Mauro, I'm not an expert in medical devices by any means, but is the device a freestanding device that comes with its own equipment for sort of readings and output, etc., or does it is it just an appendix to an existing procedure environment electronically?
Yeah, good question. But we really thought carefully about that, and we have, let's say, we have a flexible solution. We can be standalone as a device, so because we have a reading unit which is connected to a medical grade PC. So medical grade PC is just running an app, but the reading unit is streaming data through Ethernet to the medical grade PC. So we can actually provide both to the hospital on a card so that we can enter the surgery theater in an independent way, or we can just give the Ethernet cable to any of the companies which are already present with visualization system into the hospital, like Philips, GE, like Siemens, and they can display our information on their screen. So we're open to collaboration with this company. And actually, integration is what also will be the driver of the penetration of this device.
Thank you.
Really
Ilja, please go ahead.
Following up on Cem's question, so will you be selling, so will you be producing and selling devices, and if so, to whom? Or will you be selling, for example, licenses? Yeah. So what is the business model?
No, the idea is to develop a full device, okay, and to set up a production. So in this type of business, there are a lot of contract manufacturer. So to use one of these contract manufacturer to produce the medical device itself, but the design and the legal manufacturer will be Medyria. Okay, but when it comes to setting up a clean room to produce this, then we're going to use somebody else. And so, because what we're targeting is an acquisition. So when a strategics will acquire Medyria, they will have a system ready to scale up. Okay, this is what we are targeting. So we are not tackling, we don't want to license the technology. We want to develop a full product and give like a car ready to be driven to another company, which will just boost the commercialization. So
who are your competitors currently?
Yeah, so as you see in the presentation, we have two main competitors, which is Volcano Philips, that are based on the Doppler technology, which we saw that has some drawbacks, and we have Abbott. And Abbott, they have another device, and they're pushing very much the flow measurement on their side.
I've asked you because obviously you're fighting with big birds.
Yeah.
How do you see your chances of winning over? Because you're fighting for a same market, which is clear.
So our strategy is to do a case study, so to develop to develop a device, to bring it to clinical trials, to have the so-called key opinion leaders testing our device and promoting this device in conferences, okay, and to prove that the device works and brings the expected result, okay? And then I'm sure that afterwards we will be approached by strategics, which are the competitor of the companies that have already the technology, that they will need to have this add-on technology in order to stay into the market. Okay, we have a number of companies that have already a pressure measurement, and in order to continue to sell their pressure measurement, they need also to combine them with a flow measurement. This is the strategy.
Thank you very much. When was the last time you were pitching in front of 3,400 people?
Never.
No. Now you have a landmark.
3,000 is pretty nice number. Thank you.
Not bad, isn't it?
Yeah.
Great job. Thank you so much. Thank you to the jury members for asking the questions. I would like, dear jury members, again, to kindly remind you to fill in your VETs for the current presentation of Medyria and Mauro. Mauro, thank you so much. Please stay with us. We shall be announcing the winner shortly after. If you think that it's a pressure only for you, no, it's not. We try to make sure that we're all facing the same challenges. So the investors needs to make sure they do the best bets. The only thing they don't face now is they're not investing their money, they're investing my money. So that would make their decision
way better.
a little bit more favorable. What do you say, Mackenzie?
This is way better.
No, I know you don't mean it. I know that you don't mean it. Actually, the biggest issue with the last year in-person WEBIT festival was that the winner, WeFarm, most of the people who wanted to invest from the WEBIT community, they couldn't manage to do so. They have oversubscribed the 12 million before many of even the jury members who were there couldn't manage to do it. So yeah, that's a pressure for you now. Look at these amazing startups. The last one comes from, this one was from Switzerland. The first one was also from Switzerland. This time my team has carefully picked Swiss-based startups, but this one comes from US. And we have here in the studio Arup Roy Burman representing Elemeno Health. Hello, Arup. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing well, thanks. How are you?
Great having you. And you have your presentation ready. You know how to deal with it. And I just clicked the start button.
Awesome. So I am former director of the ICU at UCSF Children's, where we developed Elemeno. We're a B2B SaaS, point of care microlearning as a service. We get healthcare teams on the same page and keep them there. That saves time, saves money, and improves quality. The biggest problem in medicine today is this growing gap between organizational knowledge, what we know, and frontline practice, what we actually do. COVID only strains that gap further. And that gap results in practice deviation. That means errors and it means waste. You've all seen the tents, the PPE, the swabs in the nose. We know the practices, but do we actually execute the right way? Get the wrong angle on the nose? False negative. Why is the guy in the red hat not wearing a face shield? Why are 4 people being exposed when it only should be 1? We got to do it the right way. Traditional ways of training our frontline teams don't work. It's binders, it's flyers, it's posters above the toilet, it's mind-numbing staff meetings, and it's incessant emails. You cannot separate signal from noise. We help those frontline managers take their key learnings and deliver it in bite-sized chunks that they can quickly iterate, whether interactive checklists, videos, photos, images, and decision guides, making that manager an expert in the pocket available at ODARC 100. That's easy for staff to execute on. And we're growing. We're up to 800K of ARR. We have 0 client churn. We have clients in the US from Atlantic to Pacific to the Gulf Coast. We've got proven data points. We've decreased line infections, saving millions. We've got multiple other publications and presentations. Unlike the traditional training systems, which are top-down, centrally controlled, and about regulatory and compliance, we are bottom-up, point-of-care, mobile, user-generated content, no IT needed. We're a land and expand model, prove local value, no protected health information, no burden for IT. We can even deploy without IT. Hospitals engage, they share their operationalized practices. We de-siloed them, creating collaboration that allows them to market for us through their successes, with a big picture goal of democratizing access to best practices worldwide. We've just launched a collaboration with the American College of Emergency Physicians to take a free version of our app to assist frontline EDs with COVID across the US. We're a team of doctors and nurses, healthcare IT experts, and gamers who know engagement. And the way you can help is through direct investment. We even have a crowdfunding platform open right now for your full audience and philanthropy as well. Love to share more in Q&A.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Sure.
Great presentation. I'm looking forward to hear the questions from the jury. Who is first? Jem.
Arup, thanks. Have you started measuring results from your clients and how they compare to their pre-Elemeno
Oh,
baselines?
absolutely. That's actually, that's the fundamental basis of, I know I glossed through this quickly, but if we actually tell these stories here, the first study there that was peer reviewed and published compared intervention groups, 10,000 line days, with non-intervention control groups, showing that with our approach, infections decreased versus the controls. We've done that also looking at before and after with this hospital-acquired diarrhea like C. difficile. And we've also tracked our time of our end users in how much training they're able to accomplish during their work time or off hours in the app, as opposed to having to pull them off the line for paid classes. So we've showed decreases in both labor costs and decreases in the soft costs of, adverse outcomes.
Thank you so much. Ilja, please go ahead.
Arup, thank you very much. I didn't really understand who's creating the content and how do you incentivize the hospitals to do that, if I understand correctly?
Yeah, so the content itself is content that is coming from the frontline managers. They are the subject matter experts. Like if I'm an ICU manager or ED manager, I'm in charge of getting my team to do their work. Now they're able to give that, we help to transform it through our technology and deliver it so we make them successful. But they take that content and then make it shareable. So it's shareable then across this ecosystem. And odds are that somebody in another hospital is facing the same problems that you are. So I start to share content from my community. This builds a defensible moat for us in this community, and people start learning from one another.
Thank you. I had the privilege to have very detailed information of the startups in advance. So I have set my bets, but you still have time to ask questions. Please go ahead. Mackenzie, please go ahead.
So I like that you touched on gamification. That's my question is, if I'm working in a hospital and I just looked up how to do a particular procedure and I got this micro education, which I love, that's all self-service, it's sharing knowledge. The next day, if I have to do that same procedure, what makes me as a nurse or a doctor go back to this app and check it to make sure that procedure didn't change? And with so many procedures, how do you keep that up to date and build the habit of referring to this app before proceeding with a particular procedure?
Great question. So much, Mackenzie. Thank you so much, Mackenzie. Yeah.
So we are a team-based application. So if you are looking at this panel on the left, you can say my teams, change teams. So as a manager, I control my team card. That's able to tell my team what is new, what has changed, what are the most recent updates. So I'm able to, as an end user, when I'm logged onto my team, see what is the critical new information that's coming to me. That keeps me up to speed. And if you want to make it fun when you do a deployment, you can play our natural rivalries. Day shift wants to be better than night shift, or the medical ICU wants to be better than the cardiac ICU. You can use that social beat and drive that through the challenges piece and gamification.
Thank you. We still have time for questions. More questions for Arup? Please go ahead, Reid.
So what has it been like so far selling this? I mean, what is sort of the impression when you go and take this into a hospital or a healthcare system? Obviously, not just in the context of COVID, but presumably these have typically been some of the harder customers in all enterprise software to win over to do anything. So when you take a sticky, gamified, kind of self-service solution, how do you sort of get them excited about it? What has that sort of sales cycle look like, and how has it changed pre and post Corona?
Sure. So, when we started out, healthcare is inherently risk-averse industry, right? And it's got that sticky engine, hard to break into. So those publication proof points were essential to be able to get that first foot in the door. But once, in that first sales cycle, that could have been 18 months. So that was the traditional healthcare sales cycle. But as each hospital's come on board and they're sharing their successes, that cycle's getting shorter. The fastest sales cycle we did was about 1 month ago. We got a call on a Sunday morning saying Sonoma Valley Hospital needs help with COVID readiness. By 2 p.m., we had a demo for them. By 3 p.m., they gave it on a verbal handshake. We want to do this. They looked at shared content, picked what they liked, added some of their own. By 6 p.m., we were live and going out to staff. So we're shortening it in the overall.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Arup. Well, now the fun part starts. We have to see who's the winner. But before we do this, I would like to have a word with you, gentlemen. I would like to hear one by one your thoughts, your advice, your ideas for all of the 3 startups. We're a little bit over time, but I cannot spare time here once I have you all with us. And obviously the startups would love to hear your feedback. Not only them, but all the people who are with us. We still stay above the 3,000. So maybe let's start on the same row. I've invited you to our studio to start with Jem. I know it's the easiest or the hardest, Jem. So let's start with you.
Well, I think the times we're living in, I mean, with this global pandemic, as an investor, what I've been reminded of has been, you know, how some of the big problems in the world require global collaboration, and healthcare is one of those areas where still lots of sort of regulatory barriers, cultural barriers, even strategic barriers still exist around countries. And you know, most of the startups we're hearing from this today have global aspirations. Ultimately, want to build global businesses. So I think to take a global approach from day one will be critical, despite the regulatory barriers and frictions in that's specific to the market. I say this as an outsider to the life sciences and healthcare market.
Did you see something that you didn't like and you want to make sure that that particular founder should not repeat it in the next presentation, speeches, or the approach?
Not one I could point out to, no. 3 very exciting companies, no.
Thank you. Who else? I think it's Mackenzie now.
It's like a
Mackenzie, can you please join me and tell me what you think? What's your reflection on the 3 startups?
I'm going to talk in general for startups and kind of where we are today. You know, a lot of people look at, investments kind of drying up because of the COVID situation. But anytime you have this mass amount of disruption, anytime you have people changing the way they're living their life day by day, depending on new services and offerings and products that companies are building, there is so much opportunity right now. You know, I think as the world starts to return back to what it thought was normal before, they'll realize that the way they want to work, the way they want to buy stuff, the way they want to interact with healthcare systems, it's going to change. You know, they might be, whether it's more personalized, whether it's just a better work-life balance. There's so many things playing into this. And so as a result, there's so many opportunities that are opening up for new companies to come in and fill those gaps. And so while the pessimist might say, well, this is really hurting the startup ecosystem, I'm really viewing it optimistically that there's a lot of people waiting for the opportunity to build something that's going to make a big impact. And COVID is, on the plus side, helping in that area.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Mackenzie. Have you also seen something you didn't like that you want to give an advice to the founders?
No.
What kind of investors I have today? Come on, guys. I mean, you must be ruthless, right? You must be like a hammer, and you're so kind and nice. All right, thank you so much.
Behind closed doors.
Let's see another hammer here, bringing Ilja in the studio.
Yeah, thank you. Thank
Ilja,
you. So first of all,
let's see if you're going to make it up to my expectations.
Yeah. Well, first of all, speakers here was very nice presentations, and here I'm very much with them. I think it's really I'm grateful to see solutions to real world problems, and I think this is something that shows that I think they've been chosen very well. Thank you for that. They are all, each of the 3 presentations is playing in very different let's say corners. Pryv is a middleware solution, and I would have loved to spend more time discussing the technological and the business model here, because I think middleware brings very specific challenges when implementing that in solutions, and how to make money in the long run. So this is something I have not really understand to be critical, but this is also just to the time limitation. Mauro, I really liked your product. I'm not coming from the field, so but with that, I mean, my biggest concern would be the scalability, and I wish that you will find a good partner to do that, and ideally an investor that will support this. This would be my take on that. And Arup, I think this is an amazing product that you have here. I'm very impressed by the scalability, the network effect. So this is really also the perfect time, obviously, for the product. So you're lucky here. Happy for you. You know, what I'm concerned with is the long-term scalability of this product. So what happens post-corona? Will this scale into other cases, diseases, and so on? So what happens afterwards? This needs to be an ever-evolving product, and it can be an amazing journey for that. So thanks, everybody. Great startups.
No, I'm also very grateful to all of these amazing startups who applied. Most probably you know that we have this global COVID-19 health security challenge. Some of them are from that particular one, others from the 4,500 companies that applied for the Founders Games. And definitely an amazing work of our startup team. Congratulations to all of them, Bobby and others who are working with these great startups. Thank you so much. And now we have Reid also joining me in the studio with his final words. We already know who is the winner, Reid, but still, I would like to hear your reflection.
Well, I just want to say first, thank you again for inviting me. I mean, 3 really good, very fine-tuned pitches. I really enjoyed hearing all of them. You know, in terms of you know, I think I really could only echo what all 3 of the investors before me have said, because they've all made great comments, and I don't have too much new to add. But really, yeah, I mean, I think the one that I would pick up on is Mackenzie's point, that I think that this lockdown period particularly is going to lead to a lot of innovation, and we're going to see a lot of new technologies that emerge over the next you know, year or 2 that were founded in this time. And I think that they're, you know, all, well, I mean, especially thinking about Pryv and the middleware solution, you know, also Elemeno, you know, that you guys are so well positioned to help companies coming out post, you know, post this sort of COVID crisis, and really helping them build solutions. I think that's also what's particularly exciting here. But again, yes, thank you very much for inviting me. I really enjoyed participating today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having you with us. And it's time for the moment of truth. There's been, as you rightfully mentioned, some great ideas shared, wonderful teams, and strong and I believe very clear market success. But we had a tough job to select one. And we did. We have a winner. Maybe I should announce him the next edition. And the winner is Elemeno, Health, and Arup. Congratulations, Arup.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it. You know, as I mentioned, our vision, the reason we started this company was to be able to democratize best practices worldwide. How could we help take from those who are resource rich to be able to then share with those who are resource constrained, recognizing that much of the world, this is the most complex piece of technology that they own. So that's where we go. We started in the US. I'm thrilled to be able to reach a global audience through WEBIT, and really look forward to the day when we can really extend this product truly around the globe and help billions of people.
Thank you so much, Arup. Thanks to Evelina, and definitely thanks to everyone who's been presenting here, because, I mean, being here, Mauro, all of you, means that you've done something great. And from now on, our ecosystem, which reaches to over 800,000, actually 900,000 people, are all at your disposal. Anything we can support you with. That's why you presented at that large stage. That's why you've done what you have done in front of our investors jury. You're members of the WEBIT family. Thank you, all of you. Special thanks to the investors panel. You have received, as founders, some great VADs, but I would like to return that back to the investors. You are fantastic. Your investment path has been phenomenal until now. That's why we've invited you. We're inviting investors who can really add value to these startups. And I'm sure that you are about to get in contact one way or another with these three and many others that we're welcoming at the WEBIT Founders Games. With these words, special thanks to all of you. I would like to announce our upcoming programs. Tomorrow, we shall be hosting the CEO, the past CEO of Apple and the president of PepsiCo, John Scully, along with a dear friend of mine, John Nosta from Nosta Labs, a very deep dive professional and innovator in the healthcare space. And we wouldn't do this without the host of the WEBIT Health program, my dear friend and phenomenal human being, Professor Shafi Ahmed, who shall be the host of tomorrow's WEBIT Virtual Health Innovation program. And we shall be having also another special guest from CNBC, who is going to moderate the whole discussion and to represent the questions from the audience. Never forget, we are live. The production you see is live production, which we as entrepreneurs invested and built for less than a couple of months. And now we have that television broadcasting live for all the WEBIT community around the world. Use hashtag WEBIT and ask your questions. And then coming up next, we shall be hosting another amazing leading media panel, leading media forum, with participation from leading media such as CNBC, CNN, USA Today, and BBC, and their editors. You see them on my screen. It will be a phenomenal health innovation week, and I look forward to have you all and many more joining us tomorrow for the Thought Leadership Summit and Thursday for the Leading Media Forum. All of this during the WEBIT Hour. All around the world, you know your time when you should join us. It's 5 Central Eastern European time. It's 11 New York time, 8 a.m. San Francisco, and I think it's 9:30 in New Delhi. All around the world, thank you for joining us, and thank you all for supporting our global mission of improving the state of today and creating the desirable future. Thank you. See you tomorrow again.
This program is powered by thevirtual.show, making your offline events virtual.